Now, anybody who is a fan of the survival horror genre has played or at the very least heard of Silent Hill. For me, my introduction into the franchise was back in the early 2000s on one of those old action replay demo discs of Silent Hill 4 The Room. Until this day, I still think the ghosts of Silent Hill 4 are some of the creepiest and scariest enemies in the horror genre. I did eventually end up getting Silent Hill 2 at some point, then the actual full version of Silent Hill 4, but anyways, my point being is I've been a fan of the survival horror genre and games like Resident Evil, and seeing all these shills defend the Silent Hill 2 remake, acting like it's, both a masterpiece and or better than the original, actually makes me mad. All these fake fans and tourists never played the original, and even looking at the Steam achievements, most of the people who bought the remake didn't play that either, with only about 60% actually getting past the apartments and 40% actually finishing the game. And just like so many other remakes of modern times, the Silent Hill 2 remake is a soulless cash grab by Konami, and it's blatantly evident and clear so by the fact that Bloober Team had zero understanding or the message of Silent Hill 2. They butchered countless scenes, hired a consultant company Hit Detection to uglify all the women, and fill the game with a bunch of repetitive bloat that drags the game on for far too long. This is probably going to be my longest video on my channel, as with this being my first review, so make sure to kick back, grab some pizza.
This town is full of monsters. How can you sit there and eat pizza?
Or popcorn, if you're a remake pleb, and relax, as I'll be reviewing and comparing the Silent Hill 2 remake in depth with the original and everything they screwed up, from the cutscenes, the characters, the gameplay, the tone, the mood, the atmosphere, and the story. As with censorship, as this will be a fairly in-depth review, I will obviously be giving spoilers, as I'll be covering the entirety of the game as with its story. Now, just booting up this game, it crashed 3 times before I could even start playing it, and I'll be going over the stability issues of the game later on, but just to let everybody know, I have a 4070 Ti graphics card, 32 gigs of RAM, and 6 terabytes of Samsung 990 Pro SSD, so yeah, it's unacceptable, but that's modern games for you. After getting this game to run and setting up all the settings, we can see already on the title screen they have already fucked up the game, and we haven't even hit the X button yet. Yeah, no Silent Hill logo or anything. We just get a shot of the bathroom urinals, and it's not even like a cool cinematic shot. It really just is boring and soulless. It's not the biggest deal in the world, but it ultimately is a red flag of what is to come. However, that's not the only thing that's wrong with the title screen. You can see in the original, and with a lot of like PS2 era games in general, you would typically get a demo showcasing the game with a mashup of gameplay and cutscenes. If you don't press play for like 30 seconds, you would get like these cinematics. You would also get these cinematics in Silent Hill 1 and 3, and they were always really cool and would play a kick-ass soundtrack that would really pump you up to play the game. Like, it actually got you excited. It showcases all the characters you're going to meet. It does kind of spoil some of the later scenes, but the game would also hide some of it till you actually had beaten the game. Now in the remake, it's gone. It's nowhere to be found. You can wait on the title screen for an hour and you won't be getting any opening cinematics. It's the small details like this that new and modern games are lacking. It may seem like I'm nitpicking, but I'm really not. It's the small things that really add to the experience, and when you screw them up and the game becomes worse because of it, why are you even remaking the game in the first place? So you hit play and are greeted with combat difficulty, puzzle difficulty, which I'm not gonna lie, I haven't tried playing the game on hard puzzle difficulty, so I'm unsure what exactly the puzzle changes or how the puzzles change since I played on the standard difficulties. I do want to say this also, and another thing I really hate about modern games is they always screw up the difficulty settings. I hate it when games only boost the enemy's damage and health in harder difficulties and you can change them on the fly. So this is again another aspect that they screwed up in the remake. The only thing that's different is the enemies hit harder and they have slightly more health and they are like slightly more aggressive, which is just boring. Now in the original Silent Hill 2 on hard, the game was actually different as there were more enemies. The enemies would also respawn if you even managed to kill them, which good luck because on hard in the original, you can hit the enemies with your plank like 20 times and they won't even flinch.
15 hits.
16 hits. 17 hits. 18 hits. Is it dead yet? Oh my god.
Is it dead?
What
What the hell is it? It's not human.
You also will bump into walls on hard mode. You bump into walls when running, which makes it more difficult to navigate as you can bump into a wall then get hit. The chase sequence with Pyramid Head is much harder in the boat section, as well as changed where you need to use both analog sticks to steer the boat.
What do I do, huh?
But yeah, my point being is I miss when hard modes in games weren't just the, oh my god, the monster now does 10% more damage, and the game would actually change. Another great example of this is Devil May Cry. Enemies in that game would not only be more aggressive and deal more damage, but they would also remix the stages with like new enemy placements. But yeah, moving on to the opening scene, we get James Sunderland, the main protagonist of the game that we will be playing as and will be following throughout the course of the game in the bathroom, essentially contemplating or coping over the fact that he killed his wife. In comparison to the original scene, the mood and atmosphere are completely different. We get a feeling of uneasiness with the way the camera shots are positioned and how it pans out from behind the urinals compared to the remake, which is just very boring and bland. Also in the remake, lots of colors are washed out and the game is just too dark in general. The original is much brighter, but it also at the same time has so much more character as we can see the rust on the walls and how poorly this bathroom has been kept together, almost as if nobody has been here for like more than a decade. The music, which will be a reoccurring theme, is also much more quiet, and due to that invokes less emotion. We also don't get to actually walk out in the remake as it's part of the cutscene, whereas in the original we get to control James as he is staring at his reflection in the mirror, and as you turn the camera it shifts from behind you to the floor, which is the beauty of fixed camera angles. They actually make everything feel more cinematic. So James finally steps outside.
Mary, could you really be in this town?
In my restless dreams, I see that town. Silent Hill.
In my restless dreams, I see that town. Now this scene is a bit more cinematic than the opening scene in the bathroom compared to the original, and I think the voice acting is fine here. It's decent enough.
In my restless dreams, I see that town. Silent Hill. You promised you'd take me there again someday, but you never did. Well, I'm alone there now, in our special place, waiting for you.
You promised you'd take me there again someday, but you never did. Well, I'm alone there now, in our special place, waiting for you.
I got a letter. The name on the envelope said Mary. My wife's name. It's ridiculous. Couldn't possibly be true. That's what I keep telling myself. A dead person can't write a letter. Mary died of that damn disease 3 years ago. So then, why am I looking for her?
The letter. The name on the envelope said Mary. My wife's name.
And so this is pretty much the setup for the game. James's wife has been dead for the past 3 years, and all of a sudden has gotten a letter from his deceased wife wanting to meet up at their special place. Is Mary still alive? I guess we gotta explore the town of Silent Hill to find out. So we head on to Silent Hill, and this is really where fixed camera angles shine compared to your generic over-the-shoulder camera of modern day slop games. As we are walking in the forest or woods, there is essentially not a whole lot you can do or look at since the camera is always fixed behind your shoulders, so you're always just looking at James's back. Now let's compare that to the GigaChad based fixed camera angles of the original game. As we can see, the camera will shift from a shot above James, which we can see his face to the side, which almost makes it seem like something is out there watching us. It invokes that emotion of defenselessness as we are watching James run through like a predator's, POV off in the distance, and we are the prey. The camera then pans out further away to James's back. Like, this feels cinematic and makes it less boring when all you're doing is just holding up on the D-pad. It keeps you engaged. Also, again, this remake has a problem with the soundtracks as it sounds as if they have all been muffled or like significantly turned down. So yeah, then we meet with Mangela, which is by far the biggest fuck up so far in this remake. She is butt ugly and has the face of a man. Like, you cannot argue in good faith that her face is not that of a man's. Like, this is not a woman's face. This is one of the biggest problems with modern gaming. It's the uglification of women in video games. It's to demoralize you and to normalize ugliness. And for anybody who doesn't know, Bloober Team did hire a consultant group named Hit Detection, where you pay them to essentially make your game more woke and diverse, similar to other companies like Sweet Baby or Weird Ghost or Baby Ghost. This alone should make you not want to purchase and play this game if you have any integrity or self-respect. Stop funding these DI dog shit games, and that's why I'm reviewing this toned down version of Silent Hill for the modern audience, so you don't have to play it. Just go play the original if you're interested. It's better in nearly every way. But anyways, with Mangela here, not only did they massacre her face, but so did they with her voice and voice acting.
Excuse me,
I'm sorry. I
No,
was
it's
just...
okay. I didn't mean to scare you.
Excuse me.
I'm sorry. I was just...
Hey, it's okay. I didn't mean to scare you.
I'm kind of lost.
Lost?
I'm kind of lost.
Lost?
Yeah, I'm looking for Silent Hill. Is this the right way?
Yeah. It's hard to see with this fog, but there's only the one road.
Yeah, I'm looking for Silent Hill. Is this the right way?
Yeah. It's hard to see with this fog, but there's only the one road. You can't miss it.
You can't miss it.
Thanks.
But
Yes?
I think you'd better stay away. This town, there's something wrong with it.
Thanks.
But I think you should stay away. This town, there's something wrong with it.
Like, I'm not going to sit here and try to convince you that the original game had 10 out of 10 voice acting or anything, because obviously it didn't. The voice acting was clearly very amateurish, but that was the appeal and what added to the charm of the game and the vibe. It fits with the game's tone. But anyways, we meet Mangela and she warns us that it might be dangerous, as with telling us she is looking for her mother.
Is it dangerous?
Maybe. It's kind of hard to explain, but...
I'll be careful. Someone very important to me.
Me too. I'm looking for my my mother. It's been so long since I've seen her.
and something just feels off. Like, we don't exactly know what it is at this point, but could it like possibly be that Silent Hill is luring people to it, but for what and why? So yeah, moving on, and this is where the game starts to divert or change, as this was not in the original, which is fine because this isn't supposed to be like a direct one-for-one remake, but more so a reimagining, like the Resident Evil remakes. So anyways, we get to an auto shop and need to go through the window with, you know, the white tape to show us where we need to go in case we get lost, because it's not like there's only one path to go, because, you know, we might be blind or some shit. And, you know, this is a game for the modern audience, so we need our yellow paint since we are all retards. I mean, white paint and bandages. So we jump through the window and grab a key to open up a door to continue forward, which I don't really know why this was added other than I guess as a tutorial on how to use keys, but it's not exactly rocket science on how to use keys, since all you need to do is go up to something that, you know, looks interactable like a door and press the X button. Then it'll give you a list of all your key items that you can use. Like, did I really need a tutorial for something this basic? So yeah, we continue our way jogging through mud, and we see the area where in the original you would get the wooden plank weapon, but they swapped some areas around and changed where you actually get the weapon for whatever reason. Again, I don't really understand what these changes add, but at least when you interact with the area, it pans out and is like, remember this from the original, which will be happening a lot throughout the game. So we keep holding up on the control stick because this game hates fixed camera angles and wants to try and be The Last of Us instead of a Silent Hill game. Until we get to the map, we finally made it to Silent Hill. We see a flower shop, go into it to find a pointless letter that reads about somebody not being able to decide what flowers to buy. I guess this could be a reference to the end of the game about James bringing flowers to Mary.
Mary?
What do you want, James?
I brought you some flowers.
But like, I don't know if it's that deep, and I'm not gonna go that deep with the lore. Like how a lot of Dark Souls channels will make a 2-hour analysis on some random pebble that is darker than the other pebbles, and somehow, you know, that means that that pebble is like more significant than the others. Unfortunately, I'm not on that level of autism. But in all honesty though, this note doesn't really add anything, which is a common theme or problem with a lot of modern games where they need to bombard you with countless notes scattered throughout the game that all don't mean anything and are all just for fluff. Like, if the note doesn't add anything to the story, then why even have it? Pointless lore doesn't add anything. Like, if we're going to do notes, can we make them more interesting, please? Like, at the very least, like the Keeper's Diary from Resident Evil 1, where it's pretty creepy and we slowly read the author being turned into a zombie, and it ends with, you know, fever gone, but itchy, hungry and eat doggy food, itchy, Scott came, ugly face so killed him, tasty. Like, see, that's an interesting note to read. Search up Keeper's Diary Resident Evil if you want to read it, or the chop suey note from Resident Evil 1. Also where it talks about him needing to like kill his friend who has become a zombie, and since he is the last alive, also doesn't want to turn, so he decides to play hangman with himself. And you can literally see the zombie hanging from the ceiling with the noose, and you can hear the noose swaying back and forth, and the other zombie is like in the bathtub. Like, that's how you write notes, and that's how it like adds to like the story or lore of the game, not this bullshit about, oh, I couldn't decide on a flower to purchase. But yeah, as we are leaving the flower shop, we see blood and follow the trail till eventually we see some sort of creature off in the distance, and because James is highly intelligent, we decide to follow the strange creature, which is clearly not human. This is the part where the game diverts from the original. Instead of going down some alleyway, we crawl into some random building. Well, I mean, we do go down an alleyway, but we go into a building instead of the alleyway we normally would go to. We see a radio and a monster trips and falls. James picks up some wooden plank with nails in it.
Stay back.
And we are at our first combat encounter, and I guess this is the perfect segue to talk about the game's combat. The combat is definitely a step up from the original, and that's about the only major positive I can say about this remake over the original. Now, I played about a fourth of this game on controller and the rest on keyboard and mouse. I don't recommend playing on controller since aiming is fucking terrible. The aiming is similar to the Resident Evil remakes where you have bloom when you initially aim, but as you aim longer, the bloom will decrease and and your shots will become more accurate over time the longer you aim. But yeah, aiming on controller is horrible. It's much easier on mouse and keyboard, but for whatever reason aim assist is on for keyboard and mouse, which I just gotta say is probably one of the most retarded features ever. It's a combination of the aim assist and the low frame rate, which made aiming on keyboard and mouse also terrible, as it felt incredibly sluggish, but luckily I found out you can disable it. But anyways, for combat, you now have a dodge with invincibility frames, which is really forgiving with the timing. Like, you can pretty much evade through any hit or attack with it, or just spam dodge. That's also incredibly effective. Then you'll have melee, which you'll be doing a lot of until you get the handgun, which is pretty simple. All you do is press R2 to hit. However, to make the combat a bit more interesting, enemies will typically do a counterattack after 2 to 3 hits, so all you have to do is press the dodge button after hitting a couple of times. But yeah, if we are being honest, the combat is nothing to write home about. It's serviceable. However, what's not serviceable is the dogshit performance, which does tie into the combat, as it makes the game feel incredibly sluggish and clunky to play when frames are constantly dropping. I couldn't even maintain 60 FPS capped with a 4070 Ti graphics card. The game would also constantly stutter, and I would take damage quite often because of stutters. But anyways, the game really only has 3 enemy types you'll be fighting throughout the entire game: the lying figures, mannequins, and the nurses. Now that wouldn't really be a problem if this was like the original Silent Hill 2, where the game is only half as long and there are only half as many enemies. But nope, you'll be fighting the same 3 enemies throughout the entire game, which just is not enough enemy types. Either that, or they needed to cut down the enemy encounters by like 30 to 40%, and maybe giving them a buff in aggressiveness and power to make up for it. Now, to be fair, there are variations of each monster, such as the lying figure can explode in the Otherworld, leaving behind gas that will damage you. The nurse also has a variant. One of them, she has a knife, and the other, she has a pipe. And the mannequins have spider variants, which are incredibly annoying. You'll also fight bugs, if you can even call that an enemy type, and the occasional mandarin, which are these big ass monsters that are underneath the grates, which will stun you. Now, these are by far the most annoying monsters in the Silent Hill 2 remake, because they will do this screech attack that will stun you, then immediately or shortly after they will attack you. Now, the problem is it's typically pitch fucking black whenever you're in the room with one of these things, and they are also beneath you and attack from below, so you can't see them because it's pitch fucking black, and then you get stunned and you can't see the attack. Great game design, am I right? They aren't worth killing either, since they are literal bullet sponges. Some major problems with the combat overall though is definitely the jankiness feeling of it. Like, for example, is enemies typically have these automatic attacks that lunge at you, and they will slide on the ground as if they are on ice skates toward you and get a cheap hit off. Mannequins also have a cheap grab attack, with, from what I can tell, is not very well telegraphed. The game also has 3 firearms for you to find. Well, maybe not to find, since they are almost impossible to miss. The game has the standard handgun, which will be your basic ranged weapon for most cases. It is really good on mannequins because mannequins are able to dodge and evade your attacks, so 3 bullets with the pistol almost always will kill them. I'm pretty sure it always kills them, but you don't have to deal with them in close range with a melee weapon. There's also the shotgun, which is your standard high power close quarters gun. It packs a punch, however it typically does not one-shot monsters. It is usually enough to knock them down or over to do a stomp attack, but it rarely ever kills them unless they are a mannequin. Then you have the hunting rifle, which is basically this game's equivalent to Resident Evil's Magnum. It's a slow fire rate, high power weapon with very limited ammo, so you typically just reserve it for the boss fights. One of the biggest problems with the combat is the mannequins, as they are just highly fucking annoying. They are essentially hiding behind nearly every wall or corner, ready to jump scare you, which again is just annoying since you have to check every corner for them or you're gonna get hit. Luckily enough though, they do have a sound cue, so typically if you hear that, you just press the dodge button and you should be good. But the point is, when you are expecting these mannequins behind every fucking corner, since they are behind nearly every corner and wall, it's not really scary. Nothing is scary about seeing the same trick 500 times. I'll talk about the gameplay more in a bit, same with the bosses, but let's continue onward for now. But yeah, you kill the monster and leave the house by vandalizing this person's home by breaking the window. Now, one of the biggest changes to this remake over the original is that every area or zone is about twice as long in length, such as exploring the town, the first main level or dungeon, the apartments, the hospital, etc, etc. And to make these areas longer, you essentially have new areas to explore in the town which was not in the original, such as being able to vandalize store windows like we are BLM, destroying black-owned businesses, and support a Black Lives Matter to like enter into stores and shit. You can also vandalize cars to get items like health drinks and ammo, and there are many apartments and stores to explore, as with some newly added puzzles. Honestly, this opening section of exploring the town is kind of like a mini open world, which I think for the most part actually plays out pretty well, since it's also in the style of like a Resident Evil game where you need to explore multiple areas for key items in any order you want. So you head on over to Neely's bar and you find a note, which this is again different from the original, as this note and puzzle are brand new. In the original, all you had to do was go to the bar and look for the map, then go to Martin Street to pick up the apartment key off of like some dead body. Now in the remake, you need to fix an old jukebox by finding a button, finding a coin for the machine, the other half of a record, and glue to fix the broken record, and then insert the fixed record into the jukebox to open the door and get a key. Wow, a lot of shit you need to do, which again, I actually don't mind this part and like the openness as to which order you can grab all the key items in. Feels very classic survival horror. The biggest problem though is a lot of the buildings will have literally nothing in them, or if they do, it's just some irrelevant notes that don't add anything to the story in the least. I don't think the town sections of Silent Hill games were ever that scary, if I'm gonna be honest, since it would always just be very open and you can easily just run past everything. But in the remake, the town section felt even less scary somehow than the original. I don't know if it's because of the more realistic graphics compared to the more pixelated graphics of the original, but I just don't think it's very scary in the slightest. But yeah, so you investigate the jukebox, take out the broken record, and need to find the glue, other half, button, and coin. But before doing that, and as we leave, we see on the glass a message: there was a hole here, it's gone now, which is just a cool little reference to Silent Hill 4, The Room, where you go through holes to like different areas. But yeah, so we head over onto apartment 9 by the pharmacy, since the note told us to go there. But before we do that, we explore some areas and buildings to stock up on health drinks, which this game gives you no shortage on healing items and ammo. I had well over 20 syringes, which are the large heals of this game. They were replaced by the medkits, and I think around 40 health drinks during the end of the game. The game on standard does feel incredibly easy. Although to be fair, the original was also piss easy. I had probably around the same amount of heals left, and over like 200 handgun bullets, and probably like over 100 shotgun shells by the end of the game in the original. So we explore to find a key, then in the store we find a receipt on the counter about medicines most native speakers of English couldn't even pronounce, with different amounts purchased and the price of each, which makes you think, oh, is this going to be a puzzle and I'm gonna have to like find the code through these numbers and different prescriptions? Nah, you don't do any of that, and this note is completely fucking worthless. Thanks game for wasting my time with a note that does absolutely nothing other than to waste the player's time. And yes, of course there are Reddit autists trying to decipher what this receipt means, with entire Reddit posts to nobody's surprise. So we explore the rest of this apartment, go upstairs to the top floor, and for whatever reason they screwed up the music, since this is obviously supposed to be the music used for the hospital with the heavy breathing. So basically anyways, we smash the TV cause James likes to break shit, and we stick our hand into a hole. Again, this is where I think Bluebird team had no idea what the fuck it is that they were doing, because this will be like a reoccurring theme for this remake. Hey, you remember that thing you would do in the original one time? like sticking your hand in a hole or sticking your hand down a toilet. Let's make it so you have to stick your hand in 20 holes throughout the course of the game and 20 toilets. Okay, maybe that's like an exaggeration, but I swear it must have been at least 5 holes you did this for, if not more. Same with like breaking walls. Remember in the museum when you had to break the wall to get out in the original? Let's make it so you have to constantly break brick fucking walls with a fucking wooden plank like 30 times. They pad the shit out of this game with these repetitive tasks that you would only do once in the original. But anyway, so you stick your hand in the hole and get a button for the jukebox, because apparently James is too stupid to remove one of the other buttons on the jukebox to the one that he needs. So now you go to groovy music, kill some enemies, get the other half of the record, glue it together, head back to the bar, and you play the music. Get the key, go out the back door of the bar, find another key for the apartments, then run to the WoodSide Apartments while a bunch of enemies start swarming the streets. So you book it to the apartments and now you're in the first dungeon of the game. Congratulations. Now pretty much all 4 of the main levels or dungeons have all been completely reworked and changed. For the most part, there are still the same areas you'd have seen in the original Silent Hill 2, but the layouts for each area are significantly different and about twice the length of the original. For example, in the OG Silent Hill 2, you are able to go up to the 3rd floor right away to look at the gun, but if you don't have like the flashlight, then you won't be able to pick it up. In the remake, the 3rd floor is completely shut off until later, and you'll be heading back down to the 1st floor after getting a key and the flashlight. I'm not gonna go in depth about every little detail that is different on every single thing you do in the remake, as I feel like that would take way too fucking long, so I'm just gonna kind of briefly go over most of the major or main things as I may have here with it and my thoughts. Now starting off, the apartments in the remake are just less spooky and scary in general. I think there are a few contributing factors to this, but one of the biggest, which I don't know if I hear anybody actually ever bringing up or mentioning, is loading screens or the transition between like doors and areas is scary. Now maybe that sounds stupid if you haven't actually ever played an old survival horror game like Silent Hill or a Resident Evil, but it's true. When you go to open a door and all you get is a black screen, it's tense waiting for the game to load, and it will allow your imagination to get to you because you don't know what's behind that door, and when you open it you could, and this does happen, will be thrown right into an enemy, and typically the camera will be facing the player or not towards the monster, so you can hear the monster making noise somewhere in the room, as with your radio giving off static, and even though your character model can see the monster, you the player cannot because of the fixed camera. So you know there's a monster somewhere in the room, but you don't know where and you can't see where. So you have 2 options: either stand at the door waiting for the monster to come to you, or face your fears and try to find where it's at and kill it. Like, it's actually scary when you open a door, then the game loads and all you hear is static, or the game loads and you're instantly ambushed by a monster, or you can't see anything. Now I know I keep bringing up fixed cameras because they legitimately do make games much more tense and scary. I think one of the best examples in gaming is from Silent Hill 1. To fully understand how I think camera angles add to the horror, I think we should take a look at Silent Hill 1. At the start of SH1, you chase your daughter Cheryl into this creepy alleyway. The camera starts above you, and this makes it seem like you are smaller than you really are, which makes you naturally feel weaker and exposed. As you continue to run through this claustrophobic alley, the camera is twisting and turning in every direction, disorientating you. The music is slowly building up till you get to a fence, so you go through the fenced door you enter, but now it's getting darker, so you pull out your lighter for your only source of light as the camera is right above your head, giving you a bird's eye view. The music is slowly picking up more, and you hear something metallic off in the distance making noise, and as you approach the object making the noise, the camera continues to twist and turn. It's a tipped over wheelchair with its wheels spinning. The music continues to build up more and continues to get louder as you see a hospital bed with blood covered on the sheets. The camera follows behind you and is positioned at a very awkward angles to further disorientate you as the music continues to play as you continue to fumble around panicking, not knowing what is to come, till eventually you see a dead body chained up. Then out of nowhere, with literally no build up at all, you see little children like demon creatures approach you with knives. So you run back as the camera pans back and forth until you find out the door you came through has been locked shut. You are stuck, not knowing what to do until you eventually die, thinking like, what was I supposed to do in that situation? But you awake as it was apparently all a dream. Like, this opening sequence in Silent Hill 1 is more terrifying and scary than the entirety of Silent Hill 2 Remake.
What is this? What's going on here?
Imagine they remade Silent Hill 1 with this exact same scene, but instead of the twisting and disorientating camera angles, we had the camera over the shoulder and we could perfectly see everything in front of us. Yeah, exactly. It would not be anywhere nearly as effective. This is still one of, if not my favorite opening to like any horror game ever. Like, for any future indie devs or developers in general, take notes from Silent Hill 1. It's a masterclass in horror. That's why the remake isn't anywhere near as effective as like the original Silent Hill 2. I'm also not trying to beat a dead horse, but again, the music is very low throughout most of the remake, and in some areas it's just straight up missing. So starting off with the apartments, one of the first things you'll notice is the coin puzzle has been moved to the main hall of the apartments, whereas in the original it was just in one of the apartment rooms. So the riddle for the puzzle has also been altered and changed. 3 bright coins in the 5 holes be. First sits the maiden underneath the tree. The wind from behind the maiden doth blow. A beautiful flower alone has to grow. And here comes the man so sleek and so fine. In the pale moonlight his eyes doth shine. I will say I do think the original just makes more sense, and it says 3 bright coins in 5 holes be. At one end sits the seducer of she. The wind from behind the woman doth play. The formless one, null, lies furthest from they. Old one besides the serpent sits not. 'Tis to the prisoner's left that he doth rot. So anyways, this will be the main puzzle of the apartments. We will need to find these 3 coins and insert them in the correct order according to the riddle. So we are off to go find the coins and head to the 2nd floor. James enters a room with a mannequin with a flashlight attached to it, which if you never played the game before or never checked the photo in your inventory, you probably wouldn't have noticed this mannequin is wearing the same clothing Mary is. I mean, yeah, it's pretty easy to see the symbolism here. Mary is guiding James and she is his source of light. The setup in the original is much better. As you enter the room, the camera is positioned behind the mannequin, so you can't quite make out what it is. Is this a monster? Like, it's kind of creepy. The remake doesn't invoke those emotions though, so you pick up the flashlight, and unless either you knew you were going to be jumped here or you already played the game before, you're probably going to take a hit here. So you get jumped by a literal mannequin with like 2 sets of legs. Again, I know I keep saying this, but in the original it was simply better. Instead of the mannequin just being there and jumping you, in the original the mannequin is laying on the floor and it like springs to life. It's much more creepy than just immediately being attacked. But yeah, the mannequins are clearly symbolism for James's wife, and if it's not obvious either by now, yes, James is a gooner. That's why all the enemies are overtly sexual, such as the mannequins and the nurses with the big mommy moo moo milkers, which Bloober Team had to nerf in the remake because they are fucking cucks who, just like any other modern developers, can't create anything original, so they have to quote unquote fix what they didn't create. This is a game for the modern audience if it wasn't already obvious enough, but yeah, get used to having to fight these fucks every 5 minutes and having to check around every corner, since that's how the game is going to be from here on out. Which, yes, if you were wondering, it gets really fucking annoying by the halfway point when you get jumped by a mannequin in the corner for the 50th time in the past 5 minutes. So after the bullshit encounter, we get the shoot courtyard key, which I'm not gonna lie, I feel like the key could have just been named courtyard key instead, because since it had the name shoot, it made me think of like a laundry room or some shit. Terrible name for a key, which will make you run around like a dumbass not knowing where it goes because of the shit wording. Also, just in case you are retarded, I forgot to mention this, if you interact with the mannequin again in the remake, James goes like, these clothes, because you know subtlety is dead and we need to make sure the 62 IQ player knows this mannequin represents Mary, which I could be wrong, but I'm like 99% sure in the original you couldn't interact with it after grabbing the flashlight, but I could be wrong, so if I am, let me know down in the comments, but I'm pretty sure you couldn't. So we eventually get to a hallway with bars blocking off the other half and we see a key on the floor, and then out of nowhere this little brat kicks the keys away. What a little shit. But as of right now, she isn't important, and we aren't going to be seeing her until a bit further on, so we circle back to the main lobby, and the girl left a door open that was previously locked, so we go into it and we are on the other side of those bars, and we grab the key that the little girl had kicked away. So we keep exploring, we enter a room with a wardrobe and we open it, and the hand drops a golden apple handle. We further explore and kill some enemies along the way. We go to the second floor now since we got the key from behind the bars, and there is an enemy playing dead. I just want to say I hate this shit. Like, if I attack it and it doesn't get up, that should mean it's dead, but nope, it's going to come back to life later on, even if you hit it like 20 times beforehand. And the game does this bullshit a lot, which if this was a Resident Evil game, if you shoot a zombie playing dead, they would get up immediately, but not in this game, which again, I think is retarded. We continue to explore till we get to a laundry room, and there is a coin for the puzzle we need stuck in the chute. Remember when I talked about the chute courtyard key or whatever? This is what any normal functioning person would think, a key to the laundry slash trash room. But yeah, and we'll come back to this later, but I find it hilarious how badly they butchered this puzzle, which to be fair, it's not really a puzzle, but you'll see what I mean when we eventually come back to this chute. So moving on, we eventually see Pyramid Head behind the bars. And I think again the original is much more creepy, especially with how like the bars are all broken up and shit. It makes it seem like he could bust through them at any moment. But yeah, this is pretty creepy since there is no real build up to it. You just hear your radio giving off static and you see this weird ass creature with a metal pyramid structure like on his head just staring at you menacingly.
He's just standing there, menacingly.
Knowing you are going to have to like go on the other side of those bars eventually, and knowing he could be around any corner, you know, it's pretty scary. If this was a modern horror game though, let's be honest, they would have made this a cutscene and it would have like lost all the scare factor. I'm surprised Bloober Team didn't do that, which, you know, modern horror games don't ever seem to realize that when you take control away from the player, as in a cutscene, it automatically becomes less scary since you know nothing is going to happen because it's just a fucking cutscene. You eventually get the handgun in a cart, which takes significantly longer to get than the original since again, all you had to do in the original is get the flashlight on the second floor, then go up to the third floor to get the handgun, but we need to like artificially extend the game's length to appeal to normies and shit. We then see a dead body with like cloth or a towel on his head. And in the original, you couldn't really see it. Because of the camera angle, but in the remake you can like rotate the camera angle because this game is in third person, and it wouldn't really make too much sense as to like why James would be looking at himself like dead on the chair. So I guess that's why they had to put the towel on his head. If you pay attention though, he has the same clothing on as James does. It's kind of ruined though, since again the camera was positioned in a way that you couldn't see his face in the original, and James could, but you know, not the player. We get to a apartment room where we need to use a apple we got from the other wardrobe room on this wardrobe, which we then push it and are greeted with a I Spy puzzle, which this was not in the original and is brand new. This shit was kind of annoying though, since I couldn't find the last clue on the wall. You read a riddle on the wall and you gotta correlate the numbers and pictures for the safe code. Like, it's fine I guess, but this puzzle really wasn't needed and honestly doesn't add much to the game other than just being a fucking annoyance. We solve it to get the old man coin. Further on, we hear somebody puking. Check out that room and we see a dead body shoved into the fridge, and we meet another one of the characters we'll be seeing throughout the course of the game, Eddie. Now in this remake they made Eddie look a lot more like a fat fuck, and he just looks like disgusting in general to like look at. But yeah, the cutscene is not subtle at all, and James doesn't even ask Eddie if he's like friends with like that pyramid head guy.
You're not friends with that red pyramid thing, are you?
Red pyramid thing? I don't know what you're talking about.
So that obviously makes this a worse remake. I'm joking obviously, but I don't know why they removed that line, other than Bloober team is incompetent and stupid, which I guess we already know that.
Hey, who's there?
It wasn't me. I didn't do it. I didn't do it, I swear.
Anything. I swear. He was like this when I got here.
My name's James. James Sunderland.
You mean the man back there? In the kitchen?
I didn't do it. I swear I didn't kill him.
Yeah, it's all right. I'm not saying that you did.
I swear I didn't kill anybody.
You're not friends with that red pyramid thing, are you?
So, do you live here, Eddie?
No. I'm not even from this town. It's just...
Something brought you here.
They scared the hell out of me, so I ran in here.
Well, I guess this place isn't too safe either.
Figured it might be safe, but then I found the guy in the fridge.
Easy, deep breaths. Look, this place, it's not safe. These things, this whole town.
You too, huh? Something just brought you here, right?
Yeah, you could say that.
Well, whatever it is, I think you better get out of here soon.
Find someone.
Oh.
And, Eddie, be careful.
Yeah, you too.
You be careful too.
We go to the pool room to get the snake coin, head to the third floor to find the last coin, and we find the fucking canned juice right next to the trash chute. Like, did they just have no faith in the player at all? Why is the key item for the fucking chute right next to it? That's like putting a key for a locked door in the same fucking room with the locked door. Like, obviously in the original, even as a kid, I got stuck on this for a long time because it's not obvious. Like, why would I use a canned juice or soda or whatever it was to put it into the garbage chute? It's not very intuitive, I guess, but like still, that was part of the like old survival horror games, having obscure ass key items that you have no idea what they do or what they're for, and needing to think outside of the box as to what you could possibly use it for. But no, Bloober team is just like, you know, the modern audience is retarded, so let's just put the fucking key item right next to where you need to use it. Like, that's so fucking stupid. Why even have the item to begin with then? Like, really, just make it so the canned juice is like stuck halfway into the chute and all you have to do is interact with it to shove it down. Like, really, this is so fucking stupid. So we go to the courtyard to get the last coin, which is supposedly supposed to be like a woman, which I inserted the coins and forgot what they were and didn't realize that was a woman. It looks like a 40-year-old man, which I thought was like supposed to be the prisoner. Like, in what fucking world is that a maiden? Is this like the maiden after her Is this the maiden after her transition? Like, really? I feel like there are a lot of just small fuck-ups like this throughout the entirety of this game. So we head back to the puzzle, solve it, then we need to solve it again because they made the puzzle have multiple steps and riddles. Solve it, and then we get the key to apartment 201. We head to room 201 to see the Pyramid Head Grape scene, which to nobody's surprise, Bloober Team fucked up severely. But yeah, you can barely even see what is happening since it's been heavily censored to, again, nobody's surprise. But yeah, Pyramid Head is a manifestation of James's guilt for killing his wife Mary. And the other enemies are also manifestations of James being like a gooner, such as the nurses having Big Mommy Milker Melons, the mannequins, and also them being Mary. And since Mary was like sick in the hospital, dying of like some sickness, all of the enemies kind of have that look, such as the lying figure or the nurses also representing the hospital that Mary would have stayed in, and they would have been, you know, taking care of her. As with all the enemies in the game, they're all James's manifestations. But yeah, Pyramid Head eventually leaves with his mannequin because, you know, he's a gooner and all that shit and isn't done with her just yet. He needs to go start on round 2 before coming back for James. So we open a door that leads to the other apartments and we get an achievement letting us know that we are in the Otherworld, in case that wasn't already obvious enough by the changing environment. But even then, if this is your first time playing, you're gonna have no idea what the fuck the Otherworld even is. And compared to the original Silent Hill 2, the remake's version of the Otherworld is a lot more in line with Silent Hill 1, with everything being really rusty and metallic, which honestly I don't really mind since the original Otherworld was kind of lacking compared to the first game. We encounter one new enemy type that has less health than the original lying figures, but he explodes on death, leaving behind like toxic fumes or whatever that hurts you if you go near it. These apartments are really drawn out, and by finishing the original apartments, you are already growing tired of re-exploring the same place. Even if it is different and the layout is completely changed, it just gets boring since by now at this point you would have already cleared both sets of apartments and probably would have already met Maria. This is again one of the biggest problems with this remake, is it's just too drawn out and way too long. But the main gist of the Otherworld apartments is you need to find 3 clock hands to open the corresponding doors, which will be marked with an M for minutes, S for seconds, and H for hour. And this really isn't even a puzzle, since when you find a clock hand, all you need to do is rotate the clock hand till it activates the door. Like, you literally do not need to read anything. Just overall a huge downgrade from the original. I mean, like, the original, it wasn't like rocket science to figure out, but like this is just brain dead easy. We eventually meet up with Mangela again, and she is holding a knife in her hand while laying on the ground, looking at like her reflection in the mirror. And it's extremely hard to like take this scene seriously when Angela's voice actor is genuinely fucking terrible.
Oh, it's you. It's easier just to run. Maybe it's all we deserve.
Like, even disregarding her face, which is just, you know, also terrible. You know, she's a fucking man. It's obviously not a woman. She cannot voice act to save her life. Every time I hear Mangela, I can't help but to think how bad her voice is.
Did you find the person that you were looking for?
Did you find the person you're looking for?
And for whatever reason, it's way fucking darker in the remake than in the original. But yeah, as we can tell by the cutscene and even the scene before when she says she's looking for her mama, something is obviously not right in her head. Which, if it's not obvious by now, I'll just say it. Her dad did no things to her when she was younger, so she's not fully there, and that's why she is giving these overreactions to, like, you know, the little things, such as when James is grabbing the knife from her hand.
We have to find my mama.
Should I go with you? This town really is dangerous. Now I know what you meant back there in the cemetery.
No, it's okay. Besides, I'd just slow you down.
What about that?
Will you hold it for me?
Sure. No problem.
If I kept it, I'm not sure what I might do. No! I'm sorry! I've been bad! Please don't!
Shut
Shut your bitch ass the fuck up!
Myself. Besides, I'd just slow you down.
What about that?
Will you hold it for me?
Sure. No problem.
If I kept it, I'm not sure what I might do. I'm sorry. I mean bad. Please don't.
She's like remembering what her father did to her, and since James is a man, I think you can put like 2 and 2 together. But anyway, so you go and find the remaining hands for the clock and go fight Pyramid Head, the first boss fight of the game. Now, all the boss fights in this game have been reworked and changed, so instead of fighting Pyramid Head in this tiny ass stairwell, you get this big open area to fight him in, which I think is an improvement for the most part. Now, you could argue in the original it was more scary since you're stuck in a very tiny claustrophobic room with Pyramid Head, which yeah, that's pretty scary until you realize Pyramid Head is a slow fuck and you aren't going to get hit by him unless you have like the reaction speed of a grandma. But anyways, the Pyramid Head boss fight is an improvement for the most part. All you have to do is just run around the area, shoot him, and evade through all of his attacks with your dodge that has invincibility frames. Quite simple. Probably slightly harder than the original, but that ain't saying much.
Where's everyone going? Bingo?
So you are outside again, thankfully, since, you know, those apartments were dragging on for way too long. You meet up with Laura, I'll play a side-by-side.
You! It was you, wasn't it? You're the one who stepped on my hand.
Hey, it was you, wasn't it? You're the one who stepped on my hand.
Maybe I did. Blind or something?
What's that letter?
None of your business.
That's not very nice. Didn't your parents teach you any manners? What you got there?
None of your business. You didn't love Mary anyway.
What? Hey, wait!
Continue to Rosewater Park to meet this woman who looks a lot like your dead wife Mary, and who also has a mansion because this is a modern game and all women have to be ugly. But yeah, I'm not going to go very in-depth with this scene, I'll just show some side-by-side comparisons.
Mary?
No. You're... not.
I look like your girlfriend?
No, my late wife.
Girlfriend.
No, my... late wife. I can't believe it. Your face, your voice, you could be...
My name...
Clothes are different.
My name is Maria. I don't look like a ghost, do I? Warm.
Sorry, I got confused.
Hey.
Mary.
I told you. I'm Maria.
Sorry. I was confused.
Where she died? Didn't you say she died?
Oh yeah, 3 years ago.
Anyway, I haven't seen her. Is this your only special place?
Well, there's the hotel too, I guess. The one on the lake? I wonder if it's still there.
The Lakeview Hotel? Yeah, it's still there. So the hotel was your special place, huh? I'll bet it was. Don't get so mad. I was just joking. Anyway, it's not that way. It's this way.
But yeah, after the interaction, Maria is following you and has joined your party. One problem with Maria is that you can't kill her in this game, which again, this is for the modern audience. You can't be killing women in modern games, even if you're playing as a character who killed his own wife and is by definition not a good person. Like, Maria can still die though by like the enemies, but like you can't accidentally like shoot her or hit her, which I feel like does kind of ruin the fear. But yeah, you head to a motel. Maria is like, remember my clothes from the old game? Because you know, every remake or reboot always has to do that shit to get the Redditors to be like, oh bro, I remember that one. I remember that. You continue on and get the free pipe because again, this game is for the modern audience and you can't be missing any items in the game. Everything has to be laid right in front of you, and it replaces your old wooden plank, which is kind of stupid because if I remember correctly, in the original the pipe did more damage but had less range. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it wasn't just straight up an upgrade. You eventually get to Heaven's Night and we get some censorship again because, you know, modern audiences, and James can't be a sexist who looks at Maria, you know, inappropriately or at her like cleavage or anything like that, or at her ass, you know, it's for the modern audience. Even though he killed his own wife, no checking out women's asses, that's like, you know, misogynist and shit. Go fuck yourself, Bloober Team. Now you can call me the incel or whatever, but this is integral to James's character and to the story, and it's been censored. James is supposed to be like a pervert and objectifies women.
It's no good. It's locked.
You then get Maria being a succubus and trying to seduce James.
Hopeful.
Well, that's a nicer way of putting it.
Here.
What are you doing?
Something to take the edge off. No? You sure? Fine. Be that way. Here's to hope, undying.
Later, you get an added cutscene not in the original at a park, which literally adds nothing to the game or story.
And why would she be? I don't even remember this place. This was a mistake. I shouldn't have come here.
Hey.
Until you get to a movie theater because, you know, for whatever reason, Bloober Team got rid of the bowling alley. Well, they didn't actually get rid of it. It's still in the game, but there's nothing really in it or to do in it. But so, you know, obviously the famous line about pizza has been cut out, but at least James mentions it if you interact with the pizza in the bowling alley.
Ugh. This town's full of monsters. Who could just sit here and eat pizza?
Eddie! Let's go after her.
Huh? Laura? But why?
Laura. Is that her name?
That's what she said.
This town is full of monsters. How can you sit there and eat pizza?
She said she was fine by herself. She said a fatso like me would just slow her down.
Forget you.
I guess that's a cool little Easter egg, but at the same point, why even fucking change this to begin with then? But yeah, you go into the theater without Maria because she apparently isn't much of a movie fan.
You okay?
Yeah. Maybe you better wait here.
Okay. Not much of a movie fan anyway.
I'll wait here. I hate bowling.
I didn't come here to play, you know.
Hurry back. Okay.
And we see Laura and Fat Albert in the cinema talking and watching a movie with nothing playing.
Anyway, why are you sitting here? I thought you said the cops were after you.
Nah, I don't think they follow me here.
And I don't know what the fuck is wrong with Eddie's hands, but they just made him like really grotesque and less sympathetic. Like they really did just butcher his character. Like he's not supposed to be like this, you know, evil person, you know, like this chaotic evil person. He was just supposed to be like a pathetic loser or coward or whatever.
I see that you didn't make it out yet.
Yeah. I just didn't get around to it yet.
Well, at least you got your appetite back. Are you alone here, Eddie?
But yeah, so we chase Laura to the Brookhaven Hospital, and this is the second major area of the game. And just like the apartments in every other area, by the time you're done with them, you just want the game to be over because of how fucking boring it is doing the same shit over and over and fighting the same 3 enemy types for like 15 hours straight or however long the game is. So yeah, you look for Laura in the hospital, then you know, Maria feels sick so she has to like stay in a bed to rest. You find a room with a statue of a hand holding a key and need to find 3 wristbands and solve the puzzle to get the rooftop key. You are introduced to a new enemy type in the hospital, that being the nurse, which again I already mentioned, but they nerfed her by giving her stockings, and the melons are not nearly as exposed or juicy, and they are, you know, they're smaller, you know. But yeah, gotta love censorship. But yeah, this is pretty much the last main enemy you'll be encountering throughout the rest of the game, aside from one other that you'll briefly meet a few times, and you know, aside from the other variations. Now I'm not afraid to be honest. Again, I know I keep repeating myself, but playing the original Silent Hill 2, this is where I stopped when I was a kid because this hospital section was way too fucking scary for me at the time. And even replaying this game as of recently, and it's still like really fucking creepy to play through. Like I literally had to pause the game like several times to like catch my breath. Then we get the remake of Silent Hill 2 and the hospital just isn't nearly as scary. Like the only time you're gonna get scared, which this doesn't even count as being scared, is when you get jump scared by a mannequin hiding in a corner that catches you like off guard. But yeah, the tone and atmosphere is just so much better in the original. I'll just show some side-by-sides of gameplay and stuff. But you really won't know how scary it is and how different they feel unless you actually play the original Silent Hill 2. But yeah, you then find the shotgun and do some Resident Evil style puzzles with x-rays and shit. Get the other wristbands, solve the multi-stage wristband puzzle, which again feels like another Resident Evil puzzle with, you know, having to rearrange the books, which you literally do in the original RE. We then get the rooftop key, go to the roof and read a chop suey note, then leave and get jump scared by Pyramid Head, which honestly, this jump scare did kind of, you know, catch me off guard, as I was not expecting Pyramid Head to just be standing, you know, outside of the fucking door when I opened it to leave. It did catch me off guard a little bit, I'm not gonna lie, because I thought you were like supposed to jump over the railing on the other side, and at that part I thought Pyramid Head would, you know, get you there, but no, it did catch me off guard. I do think she sounds a lot younger as well in the original. She sounds like she's actually 8, which is her age in the game. Then in the remake, she sounds like, I don't know, like she's 12. I don't know, it's not really that big of a complaint, or even a complaint, but anyway, she locks James in the room with Flesh Lips, and all James had to do was say, you know, the magic word, but he's too stubborn to do that. I don't know why, but that's also really funny. James would rather die to some fucking monster instead of just saying please. Also, to be fair to Laura, she can't see any of the monsters like James can see, since she is a child and she is innocent, so therefore there are no manifestations of monsters for her in Silent Hill. But anyways, Flesh Lip is the second boss of the game, and I do think overall this is a downgrade from the original. The original game liked throwing you into small claustrophobic areas for the boss fights, while in the remake you're in a big ass room, and Flesh Lip goes into like the ceiling and will come out of the ceiling to do an attack. He attacks by using like these metal bars as hands, and has a second phase where he comes down on the floor and is like a spider using each of like the 4 sides of the metal bars as legs. He's pretty easy to kill, just shoot him till he's dead or melee the fuck out of him, since you probably have an entire stash of healing items at this point. But yeah, instead of fighting 2 Flesh Lips at once like in the original, then fighting a third one, then you get grabbed by a second one after you beat the first, bringing you to the Otherworld. It's just much more scary in the original, being trapped in a small ass room with 2 Flesh Lips.
14 hits, 15 hits, 16 hits. I got it.
Is it dead?
What
the hell is it? It's not human.
And then they like grab you with their dangling feet. Like, this boss fight isn't terrible, but it's like, why the fuck would you change it in the first place? Why not just have the 2 or 3 Flesh Lips all at once, but with like less health? I do think overall this is a downgrade compared to the original, unlike the Pyramid Head boss fight from the apartments, which I do think was actually a step up in most ways compared to the original. Now you're in the other world of the hospital and need to find a blue lapis key and 2 codes to open this box, which in the original granted you like a piece of hair that you could use to tie a piece of bent needle to it to put it like down a drain to get an item. In the remake, use a medical tube or some shit, and then you tie the medical wiring or tube or whatever to the bent needle. But yeah, at this point I was getting really tired of playing the game and was just wanting the game to be over. But anyways, you meet one new enemy type or variation, which is a nurse, but instead of a pipe, she has a knife, which I don't know what the difference is. I'm assuming the pipe nurses have more range but less damage, and the knife ones deal more damage with like shorter range and attack faster. But anyways, you get the codes for the box and the key, and it reveals a door with a woman. And you need 2 rings to put on her fingers. And the door gave us a basement button for the elevator. We go into the elevator to be greeted with a game show host asking us trivia questions about Silent Hill. Now this is something I think even the biggest shills of this remake can agree on. They fucking absolutely butchered the shit out of this scene. Completely killed the vibe and atmosphere of the original. The voice acting as well as just straight up dog shit. Like, I really don't understand how we have so many shills defending this game saying the voice acting is actually good. Like, this is just fucking awful, dude. I'll play some side by sides again so you can hear how bad it is for yourself.
Welcome Welcome to another exciting edition of Trick or Treat.
Welcome to another exciting edition of Trick or Treat. Here you either answer the questions correctly and win a great prize, or fail to answer correctly and receive the punishment.
Where you answer our questions correctly and win a prize beyond your wildest dreams. Or you fail to answer correctly and receive the punishment.
It all depends on you. And our lucky, or should I say unlucky challenger today is James. James Sunderland! Begin sometime. Bye-bye!
What was that?
See you somewhere, sometime, in sickness or in health. Bye-bye. It's all in the hands of our lucky contestant, James Sunderland.
But yeah, I don't think anybody would know like these trivia answers or questions or whatever without actually looking them up. Like, let's just be honest. But that'll come into play in just a bit. So in the basement, we find the ring for the door, and we also meet up with Maria. And let's just say she wasn't too happy we left her all alone.
Maria, I thought... Sorry. Anyway, I'm glad you're alive.
Anyway? What do you mean, anyway? I was almost killed back there. I have never been so scared in my whole life.
Now it's okay, everybody. I got the simp ending, so it's alright. I got the Maria ending. I actually did visit her in her room afterwards, so I personally don't understand why she is so mad at me, but I guess that's, you know, women for you. Am I right?
Hey. Any luck finding Laura?
Not yet. How are you holding up?
I'll be okay. Just need a bit more rest. James. Thanks for checking up on me. It's very sweet of you.
Yeah. Get some rest. I'll be back soon.
You then find the other ring in a fridge and need Maria's help to open it because James is a bitch who doesn't lift. We then go to the trivia box room and we input the codes that we definitely didn't look up to get like the short end of the stick. We only get some shotgun shells and some syringes. In the original, they gave you an entire armory full of ammo and heals. But anyways, we head back to the door and we get to the Pyramid Head chase sequence, which again, they completely butchered and it's not scary at all. Pyramid Head even busts through the wall like he's Mr. X from Resident Evil or the dad from RE7. This game really is just the poor man's RE remake when you actually really think about it. But anyways, it's not scary simply because of the camera being fixed over your shoulder. There's no sense of urgency because you can't even see Pyramid Head chasing you unless you turn the camera behind you. While in the original, the camera angles are positioned in a way that you can see him directly behind you, and the camera angles are shifting in these tight little corridors. And because the game has tank controls, you'll probably also be bumping into some of the walls. There is no build up. All you hear is the music all of a sudden start playing, and you know something is either behind you or chasing you or that is coming. And you'll see Pyramid Head through like the little window thing because of the way the camera is positioned. This part is actually fucking terrifying on the first playthrough, but in the remake there just has to be a cutscene to let you know, hey everybody, look, Pyramid Head is chasing you. You better run.
Run!
But yeah, you get to the elevator and Maria unfortunately doesn't make it and dies by Pyramid Head. R.I.P.
Come on, hurry!
You then finally get to leave this hospital after what feels like an eternity, because it, like every other area in the game, drags on for far too long. And as you are leaving the hospital, it's now night out and raining. I do kind of like the aesthetic or mood, but again, the original where you are just running in the pitch blackness with the radio constantly giving off static from nearby enemies just hits harder and just hits different. And is overall more scary. However, to give the remake some credit, I don't completely hate the change with the added rain. But yeah, I don't know if it's like the low poly textures, the camera angles, or what, but this part just wasn't scary at all. I do like though how the layout of the town changes, aside from like, you know, pushing the trash puzzles like this is a shitty Last of Us clone. But yeah, in the remake, the town changes the second time you come through, much more in line with the original Silent Hill, where there is a lot more rust and the ground is like decaying away, and below it are metal grates and bars, compared to the original where nothing really changed despite it being, you know, pitch black now. So you hear a phone ringing off in the distance, go pick it up, and nobody is there.
Hello?
Wow, spooky, you guys. So you pick up the wrench and now need to go to Rosewater Park, and then when you get there you meet up with Mangela, and it's a pointless cutscene which adds literally nothing to the story or game other than to fill it with bloat, since this cutscene was not in the original and was added for no real reason other than, I guess, to remind you that Mangela still exists. But let's be real, nobody is forgetting this foul creature anytime soon. Let's be honest, okay? Like, she's literally much more scary than any monster in Silent Hill that you'll ever face. Let's just be honest.
Out of where?
Disgusting black creatures. Get out of my sight.
So you get the key to the museum and head on over there, but we find a garage jack, which I'm not even gonna lie, I don't know where you even use this thing, or I honestly don't really even fucking care. I assume you were supposed to pick this up before going to the hospital, but I never did. So we make our way into the museum, and we are now about to enter the third level or dungeon, the prison. So you go down these endless stairs to jump into one of the many holes we'll be jumping in. We are in a well and break the 50th wall, which would have been only the first in the original that we would have broke. Go to a bug room, and this part was annoying the shit out of me. Like, it's mostly my fault as I had like a Joe Biden moment while playing, but I assume the buttons you had to press were the ones covered in blood. Like, that makes way more sense than the buttons that don't have blood on them. Like, is it just me? But in their original it was much more obvious. But anyways, I tried all the combinations for the highlighted buttons, but apparently I missed one, so I resorted to the buttons with the blood on it, which again I thought made more sense. And what's really aggravating about this part is you only get like, I don't know, like 10 or 20 seconds to input the code before more bugs come that you'll need to kill, otherwise they'll interrupt you putting in the code. Like, goddamn, this shit was annoying. Also, they removed the battery from the original where like you would need the flashlight, because like your flashlight would go out and you'd need to like go to your inventory and combine the flashlight with your with the battery. I guess maybe that's too hard for the modern audience, I don't know. But anyways, you jump down another hole to the prison and you meet up with Eddie, which I'll just play some side-by-sides and you can compare this shit for yourself. Is it me getting lazy? Yeah, a little bit, I'm not gonna lie.
Killing a person ain't no big deal. Just put the gun to their head. Pow.
Ain't no big deal. Just put the gun to their head and pow.
You killed him? But it wasn't my fault. He made me do it.
Calm down, Eddie.
Came at me.
Okay. So he attacked you. And you shot him.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. He made me do it.
Okay, calm down.
But yeah, the prison has been altered significantly, and I do like some of the concepts they added, such as needing to turn on the power, but it's only on limited time before you need to pull the switch for the power to come back on. But it wasn't really utilized to its full potential, I think, if I'm being honest. Like, they could have tied it into a puzzle or made it so the enemies don't come into the light, or you know, some shit like that. But anyways, you'll need to find these weights to make the scale the right amount for it to open the corresponding door, similar to the clock shit back in the apartments with the S for seconds door, M for minutes door, you get the point. You'll also find the hunting rifle in this area, as with encounter the spider variants of the mannequins, which again are fucking annoying since they always go out of sight or 500 feet off the walls where you can't even see them. That's the biggest problem with the prison, is the fact that there are way too many of these spider fucks, as with just too many enemies in general. It's like they turned up the enemy encounter rate in this level by double. I know I keep saying this, but the original prison was incredibly spooky and easily the scariest part of the original game. I do also think the prison is the scariest part in the remake as well. It's not nearly as effective though, when every time you take 5 steps, you are fighting an enemy that you just fought, you know, like 5 steps ago. It kinda wears off the scare factor when you've seen the 50th spider mannequin in a row and you know it's just going to do the same shit the previous 50 did. I do like some of the parts in the prison though in some concepts. I think again, it is just drawn out for way too long. Like, other than the sheer amount of enemies, the censorship, the uglification, the other biggest problem is like the bloat and the amount of repetitive shit that you have to do, and that was like solely added just to artificially extend the game's playtime. Eventually you get all the weights and make it even, so you can then get the lever to use it to do the next puzzle, the hangman puzzle, and all you really gotta do is put the plaques and match them with the same story. Then whichever one didn't deserve to be hanged, you pull that one, and then you're in the next area or whatever. So you meet up with Mangela once again, and this is supposed to be like her manifestation of her house or whatever, where the abuse from her father had taken place. So you fight the boss, Abstract Daddy, and they turned it into almost like a running section as you shoot the boss, and then you need to run down these hallways until you finally get to the actual fight, which scenery wise is also a downgrade. For example, the pistons, which would be like the symbolism for, you know, grapes, if you know what I mean, like the piston going in and out of a hole, like you get it? Yeah, it's not rocket science, and for whatever reason they aren't there. Like, there's still holes in the wall, but there's nothing going in and out of them. But yeah, the boss is incredibly easy. I don't even think I got hit, or if I did, it was maybe once or twice at most. So yeah, you beat the boss and speak with Mangela, which I'll just show some side by sides again.
Okay, Angela. It's okay. Calm down.
Angela, relax.
Don't order me around!
Don't order me around!
I'm not. It's okay. It's over.
Don't even try.
I'm not trying to order you.
So what do you want then? Oh, I see. You're trying to be nice to me, right?
After that, we get the Maria scene, which Bloober Team screwed up incredibly bad as the lighting is completely off and the tone of the cutscenes is ruined. They also censor dialogue such as the "come and get me, I can't do anything through these bars," because anything sexual is illegal in modern gaming for the modern audiences. I've already talked about this cutscene in my previous video about embracing retro gaming, reject modern woke slop, so make sure you go watch that if you're interested. But I'll just play some side-by-sides as this video is dragging on for far too fucking long at this point, just like this game.
James? Honey? Did something happen to you?
Long hallway? Are you confusing me with someone else?
You were always so forgetful. Remember that time in the hotel?
Hotel.
Maria?
You said you took everything.
I wonder if it's still there.
How do you know about that?
How do you know about that? Aren't you Maria?
I'm not your Mary.
You are Maria.
I am. If you want me to be.
All I want for...
I am. If you want me to be.
All I want from you is an answer.
I am here for you, James.
See?
See?
I'm real.
I'm real.
Don't you want to touch me?
Don't you want to touch me?
Don't know.
Come and get me. I can't do anything through these bars.
Okay. Stay right there. I'll be there soon.
Well. If you happen to make up your mind. I'll be waiting.
I'll find some way to... I'll come back, I promise.
The main takeaway is this is one of the most butchered scenes in the entire game, and also at this point I was really wanting the game to just end and be over, which obviously I was wanting the game to be like over like probably like 3 hours ago at this point. But anyways, we are getting close to the end of the game, but we have a bunch more bullshit we have to go through first. So we get to a cube, which in the original was like used only once, and that was to get to Maria. Now in the remake you gotta like rotate this fucking cube with the corresponding faces on each wall to go to that area. You need to clear like all 3 of these rooms. So you do all this bullshit, meet up with Pyramid Head again, which I think this part is kind of a improvement over the original, as you need to like break through this wall as Pyramid Head is on your ass like swinging his shit, which was a bit tense, I'm not gonna lie. I don't know if you could have killed him there or knocked him out, but I didn't think it was worth the time or ammo doing so. So you do all that cube shit and you get another chase sequence with Pyramid Head for whatever reason. You meet with Maria on the other side of the bars, but she's dead for the second time. R.I.P. Maria. You then get Pyramid Head's great knife, but you can't use it, which is lame as hell, I'm not gonna lie. You only get to drag it through like the hands of the monsters, you know, trying to grab you or whatever, and like his blade or whatever wards them off. Fucking lame as hell. In the original you could keep it as like a weapon and it would like one shot, if I remember correctly, like any monster. It was like badass. It had a long wind-up animation though, so you had to like really charge that shit up before the monster even got close to you, but it was a cool weapon. Giga Chad OG James versus Soylent drinking bitch made James in the remake sums up this remake pretty much. So you meet up with Eddie, and at this point he has completely embraced this killer side, or has allowed Silent Hill to like overtake him. But yeah, again, I'll just show side by sides. They made Eddie much more unlikable, which like yeah, he killed an innocent dog, which is bad, no shit. But the point is he's like a fat fuck who has been bullied all of his life, and so he picks on the one, you know, innocent thing that can't defend itself, which is like how bullying works or whatever, like as we all know. Look, I'm not trying to give an in-depth analysis of every fucking character and every point about this game, but like you get what I'm saying. Silent Hill is calling people to it, such as James, Mangela, and Eddie, and now you gotta fight Eddie since he gave into like his Silent Hill, I guess you could say. So you fight him, and for the most part this boss is a step up, and I think it's pretty cool with the meat corpses moving and swaying around and you not knowing exactly where Eddie is as he goes into like the fog of like the storm. But yeah, pretty solid improvement from the original boss fight. You then obviously kill Eddie for whatever reason. They cut out the part where James is like, Mary, did you really die 3 years ago? I killed a human being, as if James hadn't killed his own wife. But you know, he's in denial and obviously doesn't want to believe that.
I am nothing but a fat, disgusting piece of shit. But you know what? It doesn't matter if you're smart, dumb, ugly, pretty. It's all the same once you're dead. And a corpse can't laugh.
It doesn't matter if you're smart, dumb, ugly, pretty. It's all the same once you're dead. And a corpse can't laugh.
Eddie? Eddie? I killed a human being. A human being.
Like, he thinks he's a good person, which yes, obviously he did kill his wife, and Maria is like the manifestation of his wife, Mary. But yeah, I do think also the voice acting for, you know, James is just more charming in the original. But anyway, so yeah, you then go on a boat to the Lakeview Hotel, which was you and Maria's special place. And this is thankfully the final level of the game, thank God. And just like every other previous level or dungeon, this one has also been altered and changed pretty dramatically. So you meet up with Laura in the hotel and she has the letter from your wife, which claims she is wishing her a happy 8th birthday, meaning James is actually a good person and didn't kill his wife after all. You see, I think we were all too quick to judge our boy James. But anyways, there's a second letter, but it's like missing or whatever, so Laura runs off for the 50th time in a row to go look for it. So you need to make it up to room 312, which is the room you and Mary stayed in. But there's a problem. There's always a problem. You need to find the key to the door to get to the hallway that leads to room 312. So you need to explore the entirety of this fucking hotel and find 3 key items, figurines, and solve the puzzle to get the key to room 312. They also, for whatever reason, cut out the abstract daddy enemies you'd see, but anyways. So you go collecting the shit you need, and you also fight a Mandarin boss for whatever reason.
God damn it.
And this game also has the employee elevator, which was annoying in the original since you had to like store all your items, including your flashlight, radio, and guns, to use the elevator, which in the original this segment was rather short, but in the remake, of course, like everything else in this fucking game, they have to pad out. And I actually hated this part. Like, I legitimately hated playing this part, as you needed to find like key items to get a code for a safe, and it's just annoying since there are Mandarins everywhere and you have no heals or weapons to defend yourself. Like, I actually hated this part. But yeah, you get the 3 figurines and solve the puzzle. You go to room 312 with the tape and come to terms with the fact that, yeah, you killed your wife. And Laura shows up and is like, I hate you for killing Mary, which, you know, is a fair response. But anyways, I think the atmosphere of the original is better, where the static of the TV, or maybe it's the radio, kicks on.
Sorry. The Mary you know isn't here. Laura, I'm sorry. voice.
I'm sorry. Mary, you know, isn't here. Mary?
James! Where are you? I'm waiting. I'm waiting for you. Please, come to me. Do you hear me? Please, why won't you come?
But where? Where are you?
You're so close now. Please, don't give up. Don't leave me out here, James! James!
And you know, like, this shit isn't over yet and something bad is about to happen. Like, you know, some shit's about to go down. And you leave the room, the hotel is now like flooding and there's water everywhere. Whereas in the remake, it kind of just fades to black or it transitions. Then all of a sudden the room is all messed up now. Like, I don't know, it doesn't hit the same. And this last segment is really just a walking simulator as all the monsters are either gone or dying and in a weakened state since like James is finally coming to terms, you know, realization with what he did. So you get to the Angela scene, which again they ruined to nobody's surprise. Is anybody surprised? Like, honestly, really, like, leave down in the comments if you're surprised, because I don't think anybody is unless you're like retarded. But again, I'll show some side by sides. But yeah, Angela tries to trauma dump all of her problems onto us and we're like, nah, bitch.
Will you love me? Care for me? Heal all my pain? That's what I thought. Saving it for yourself. Have it your way. It doesn't change anything.
Or maybe you think you can save me. Will you love me? Take care of me? Heal all my pain? That's what I thought. James. Give me back that knife.
No. I won't.
Saving it for yourself?
Me? No. I'd never kill myself.
But yeah, as we can see, this is Angela's Silent Hill, and as she says, this is like what she always sees. And yeah, she dies, R.I.P. Angela, but you know, I don't blame James for not wanting her, you know, based on the way she looks. Like, let's just be honest, okay? Let's be honest. So we get to the second final boss, the dual pyramid head boss, which more or less plays the same as the original, other than maybe being a bit more aggressive. And yeah, Maria dies again for the third time in a row. R.I.P. Maria. So we kill both pyramid heads and they impale themselves. And we climb all the way to the top to meet up with Mary, but before that, she gives us a speech.
What do you want, James?
And we finally reach Mary, and she's like mad at us for killing her, which, you know, I don't entirely blame her.
I've been waiting. It's been so long. Didn't you want to see me?
Yes, more than anything. You're all I ever wanted.
That's not true, is it?
Mary?
Wrong again. Mary's dead. You killed her.
Maria? Maria, I'm done with you.
What do you mean? But I can be yours. I'll be here for you forever. And I'll never yell at you or make you feel bad. That's what you wanted.
Now I understand. The problem is, you're not Mary.
No, James. I won't let you. I'll never let you have your Mary back.
So we gotta kill our wife Mary for the second time. Well, not really, but it's more symbolic as to like, he needs to kill her to let this go and move on. He needs to like accept terms that he's a wife killer. So we fight the final boss, which, let's just be real, in the original, the final boss was pretty dog shit to fight, especially with the bugs constantly attacking and spawning. Let's just be honest, most of the boss fights in the original were not like amazing. Like, they were tolerable, but this boss fight in the remake isn't really much better. It's a multi-step boss fight where like you'll fight her and then like you'll fall through the flooring and fight the boss in pitch black, which is just more or less Flesh Lips 2.0, as that's what this boss is in the remake. She even turns to a spider with the metal rods or whatever, just like Flesh Lips. Like, did they just run out of budget at this point in the game? Because it feels that way. So we kill Mary for the second time, and thankfully this mediocre soulless remake is finally over. Thank God. We get the Maria ending, so we get to leave with our downgraded Maria, since we are simps and goon to manifestations out in this bitch.
What is this?
Is what you've been looking for.
Let's go.
And presumably as we drive away from Silent Hill, so does our, manifested wife Maria. R.I.P. Maria for the 4th time. But yeah, there's different endings depending on what you do. There is the Maria ending, which is the one I got. And to get it, you need to like visit Maria in the hospital and keep her safe, that type of shit. There is the Leave ending, which is basically the James Ain't No Simp ending, where you ignore Maria for the entirety of the game and don't ever check up on her. Then there's the Water ending, which is the ending where James watches Chop Suey Squad, if you know what I mean. He drives this car off into the lake, RIP James. You get this ending for like viewing the knife, having your HP like too low for too long, and listening to the final monologue with Mary. Then there are the other bonus endings for New Game Plus, such as the doggo ending. But yeah, this remake is just subpar at best, and I honestly would have given it like a 7 out of 10 at first, but after further playing it, the game just drags on and on. It's like a 6.5 out of 10 at best. And now maybe that sounds a bit harsh, but like honestly, all I wanted to do after playing the remake was just to play the original game again, as the original is just better in nearly every single way, and it's short and sweet. Like the original is like a 10 out of 10. Like it's a fucking masterpiece in horror. Like it's one of the best survival horror games of all time, up there with the original Resident Evil and like Resident Evil 4, and it's just one of the best games of all time. Like let's just be honest. The game's also just more scary than the remake. The original, it wasn't made for the modern audiences, the characters weren't hit with the ugly stick, and the game overall was just more fun. Despite the gameplay improvements in the remake, it just isn't enough to make up for the extended length of the game with all of its extra bullshit, combat, and counters. Remake also ruined countless cutscenes and killed the tension, vibe, and atmosphere of many locations and cutscenes. They completely assassinated characters like Eddie and Mangela, and Mary's voice acting at the end is absolute dog shit. The game is just not that good. It really is just a poor man's Resident Evil remake. But yeah, stop pretending you're fans of a series when you literally never played them before and only have seen either other people play them or watched lore videos online. You're not a fan, you're a fake fan and a fraud. I'm tired of all these fucking retarded ass normies ruining everything and every franchise. This is like seriously why we need to bring back gatekeeping. Also tired of all these shills on YouTube pretending this is the best game ever or a 10 out of 10 masterpiece when they probably only played the original one time 20 years ago and are LARPing as real fans. But yeah, I would not recommend purchasing this game and giving Bloober Team any money for this watered down censored mess of a game. If you do really need to or want to play it for whatever reason, just buy it off a third-party site like CD Keys when it's on sale like I did. I got the game for $30 on CD Keys, so they don't get like any of the money. But yeah, if you enjoyed this review and would like more, please consider hitting that like button, subbing, and sharing the video, as this video took an extremely long time to make, and as you can tell by the end, I was getting real tired of reviewing this subpar mediocre game. Like it's not the worst game like of all time or anything like that. It's fine, I guess. It's just compared to the original, it's just not that great. Like let's just be honest. Alright, but yeah, thanks for watching, and if you haven't played the original Silent Hill games, make sure to go pick them up and play them for yourself or download some ROMs and shit. But yeah, thanks for watching and bye.